Shalom, and welcome back to the Biblical Hebrew Challenge. This is the Biblical Hebrew Beginner's Vocabulary List number 6 out of 30. Let's get started, and we will start with nouns. And the first noun for today is Even. Try to repeat that after me. Even. Even. Even means stone. Now, the next time that you see a stone, try to think, how do you say that in Hebrew? You say, Even. Even. Stone. Good. The next noun is gun. Gun. Gun means garden. Now, can you think of a beautiful garden that is mentioned in the Bible? I'm sure you guessed it. That is the Garden of Eden. Gan Eden. Gan Eden. That's the Garden of Eden. I have always wondered what that Garden of Eden must have looked like. And can you just imagine how wonderful it must have been to be able to walk with the Lord in the garden? I've always longed to walk with the Lord in a beautiful garden. How about you? So how do you say garden in Hebrew? You say gan. Gan. Let's move on to the next noun, and this is just a little bit more difficult to pronounce because it has that ch sound again. But I'm sure that by this time you have practiced a lot and you're getting better each time. So you can totally pronounce this word. And you say choma. Choma. Choma means wall. Choma. The walls of Jerusalem. Chomot Yerushalayim. Once again, how do you say wall in Hebrew? Choma. Choma. Good. Now the next word is easier to pronounce, and that is makom. Makom. Makom means place. Makom. I've got a favorite makom on this planet, and that is in Kfar Naum, which is Capernaum, by the Sea of Galilee, by the Kinneret. So, my favorite makom on this entire planet, on the earth, is Kfar Naum by the Kinneret. And you can see here a picture that I put on the screen. It is a picture that I took, I think it was 2019. And this is my favorite makom. It's a very peaceful makom where I just love to go and spend some time. Do you have a favorite makom? If so, write that in the comment section for me. I would like to know, what is your favorite makom on this planet, on this earth? So once again, how do you say place in Hebrew? You say makom. Makom. Good. Now the next noun is sus. Sus. Sus means horse. Sus. Now, sus is another one of those words that in Hebrew it means one thing, but if you say the same word in another language, it means something totally different. For example, in my mother tongue, in Romanian, the word sus means up. So if I want to say sus in Romanian, it means up. But if I want to say sus in Hebrew, it means horse. So, how do you say horse in Hebrew? You say sus. Sus. Good. The next word is Ain. Ain. Ain means eye. So how do you say eye in Hebrew? You say Ain. Ain. But can you think of something else that is also called Ain? I think you can see it in this very word. You see the letter Ain. So you see we have Ain, which is the human eye, and we have Ain, which is the letter Ain. And the word Ain starts with the letter Ain. Once again, how do you say human eye in Hebrew? You say Ain. Ain. The next noun is Shana. Shana. Shana means year. Shana. Now, when the Jewish people celebrate the new year, their Rosh Hashanah, they say Shana Tova, which literally means have a good year. Shana Tova. So once again, how do you say year in Hebrew? You say Shana. Shana. Wonderful. Let's move on to some adjectives. And the first adjective for today is zaken. Zaken. Zaken means old. Zaken. When you see grandpa, well, maybe it's not so nice to say that he's zaken, that he's old, but maybe you can say it that he's zaken, grandpa, you're zaken, but in a good way, not a negative way. So, grandpa, you're zaken. Zaken. How do you say old? Zaken. And zaken in a good way can be because an older person is also a wiser person. And that is our next adjective, wise. And you say wise in Hebrew, chacham. Chacham. Try to repeat it after me. Chacham. I know it's that ch sound again, and twice in this word. But I'm sure that with practice, you are getting better each time you pronounce a word that has this sound. Now say this again. Chacham. Chacham means wise. Now can you think of a Bible character that was possibly, actually surely, the wisest person on earth? That is King Solomon, Shlomo. King Solomon was Chacham. Chacham. So how do you say wise in Hebrew? You say Chacham. Chacham. Good. The next word is tzaddik. Tzaddik. Tzaddik means just or righteous. Tzaddik. Tzaddik. Can you think of another Bible character who was tzaddik? Well, there are many Bible characters who are tzaddik, but the one that I thought of is Abraham. Abraham was tzaddik. He had faith in the Lord. He had faith in his promises, and that is why the Lord credited it as righteousness. So he was called tzaddik. Abraham was tzaddik, righteous. Once again, how do you say righteous or just in Hebrew? You say tzaddik. Tzaddik. Wonderful. Let's move on to the next word, and I love this one. Kadosh. Kadosh. Kadosh means sacred or holy. Kadosh. Say it again. Kadosh. 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 That's a beautiful song by Paul Wilbur. I love that song. So once again, let's say this word together in Hebrew. Kadosh. Good. The next adjective is Rasha. Rasha. Rasha is wicked. Rasha. Can you think of another Bible character who was wicked, who was Rasha? That is, well, maybe you thought of Jezebel, Queen Jezebel. She was Rasha. She was wicked. So how do you say wicked? Rasha. Good. One more adjective. That is Tamim. Tamim. Tamim means complete, sound, or blameless. Tamim. The Passover lamb needed to be tamim. It had to be spotless, blameless. Tamim. So how do you say blameless? Or complete or sound? You say Tamim. Tamim. Let's move on to some verbs. Yada. Yada. Yada means he knew. Yada. Now, do you remember the word for hand in Hebrew? I mentioned that in a previous video. And if you remember, the word for hand is yad. Yad. So you see, you just add an ayin at the end of the word and you have a complete new word, a verb. He knew. Yada. So you have yad, which is a noun and it means hand, and you have yada, which means he knew. Yada. He knew. The next verb is shama. Shama. Shama means he heard or he listened. Shama. Say it again. Shama. Can you remember again which is the Hebrew word? Actually, let's remember two Hebrew words for there and the Hebrew word for sky or heaven. Can you remember them? We've got sham, which means there or thither. Sham, there. And we have shamayim, which means heaven or sky. So we have sham, there, shamayim, heaven, and shama, which is a verb and it means he heard or he listened. I found it that it really helps to have all of these words put together to compare them, because making the difference between them, I can remember easier what it means. So, sham, there, shamayim, heaven, shama, he heard or listened. Once again, how do you say he heard or he listened in Hebrew? Shama. Well, good. That was all for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Shalom. Wait, don't go just yet. If you enjoyed this video And if it has helped you with your biblical Hebrew, then don't forget to give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on that notification bell and look for the next video very soon. Bye. Shalom.